So Barack Obama speaking tonight, but Kamala Harris won't actually be there physically, Kailey.
Yeah, no, she and her running mate Tim Walz are actually leaving Chicago today, Katie. They will instead head to the location of the Republican National Convention, which of course was held in Milwaukee, Wisconsin about 4 weeks ago at the Pfizer Forum. And they will be there in that very same arena holding a rally in prime time, kind of counter-programming their own convention, as it's at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, the very same time in which we'll see speeches going on the floor here in the United Center. Behind me, it won't just be President Biden speaking, but his wife, former First Lady, or President Obama, rather, his wife, former First Lady Michelle Obama, one of the most popular Democratic figures, according to polling, will be speaking, as will the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, Kamala Harris's husband. But Kamala Harris herself won't be in the arena to see that. That said, of course, Wisconsin is one of those crucial swing states that ultimately could decide the outcome of this election. So it's not surprising they would choose to spend time there, though it might be surprising the timing of their spending time. And of course, this comes as Donald Trump himself is counter-programming the convention this week by doing his own tour of different swing states. He'll be in Michigan today.
When we think about the swing states here, the counter-programming that you've been talking about just now, how far on the edge is she right now? What does she have to still prove voters in those swing states of doing that could win her that extra margin here?
Well, we know the issues that are polling at the very top of that on the minds of voters, and that's the economy and the border, especially in some of those states more proximate to the border that we consider swing states like Arizona and Nevada. That is probably going to be paramount. But we have seen in polling leading up to this convention that Harris is polling significantly better than Biden was in many of those states. That is true for certainly the blue wall, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Our own polling at Bloomberg with Morning Consult has shown her performing basically in a statistical tie with Donald Trump in many of these states. And the New York Times Siena poll that came out this weekend leading up to the convention showed that Harris is actually leading Trump in some of the Sun Belt states, including North Carolina and Arizona. So it's going to be about mobilizing voters and turnout in those states. Of course, money helps with that. We do know the Harris campaign has a lot. They raised $310 million just in the month of July. The campaign said yesterday 60% of that was from women in particular. But the attention at this convention as well. Women's issues, including reproductive rights, were featured heavily on that stage last night and likely will be for the remaining days of this convention.
I just wonder quickly how women will react to Bill Clinton coming on the stage tomorrow. You know, he was in a significant position of power when he had sex with his intern. That's not the kind of thing that would fly these days. Had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. That's not very popular, you know, nationally. Is it something that Democrats are proud of?
Well, I've asked Democrat strategists about this, and they've suggested that he still remains a popular figure within the Democratic Party. That said, I don't think anyone's going to be saying the name Monica Lewinsky on that stage when he speaks later this week, Matt. But it is worth noting that his wife, former First Lady and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, was on the stage last night. She was the first female nominee of a major Democratic Party. Obviously, she spoke to the historic nature of Harris, another woman rising to that same level now. And of course, Harris, not just that, but a woman of color in addition. So certainly you're still seeing that put on display by the Clinton family tonight, and there's going to be many speeches throughout the convention that will likely focus on the historic nature of Harris's candidacy, Matt.